Hi, how's it going? I want to give some feedback on the Bible studies that I just finished grading, Bible studies from Isaiah 52:3. And I have some thoughts. Um, I've made a checklist of areas for improvement. And a couple of these I have gone out of my way to explain, to demonstrate, but there still seems to be some lack of clarity about what um, what we're looking for. So I'm going to just kind of go through some information. Uh, Nothing new here, um, but we need to talk about it. Okay, so first is the concept of um, historical, critical, and literary contexts. We seem to have almost across the board a lack of understanding is to what these are to consist of. Now, I've provided two or three handouts or pages, and I've done a video. In fact, let me stop sharing screens and take you to that. Um, my Where is my application study, Bible study? No, that's not what I want. Sorry about this. Word study guide, Finder, it must be down here. Yeah, there it is. So many things open. If you go to the module Bible study resources, and I did some revisions of just moving stuff around to be more easily accessible. If you go into these resources, you have a discussion of sentences, paragraphs, and discourse from way back. You have the document review things to observe in a biblical passage, which is a scan of the section in the Grasping God's Word book, which lists all those things, which I imagine you haven't looked at for over a month. So I would encourage you to look back over that and to have that kind of fresh in your memory. And then I made a video of how to observe, to outline. Let me see here. So you might remember this, but it appears that maybe some didn't catch this video. But here I teach how to move from an observation page to an outline. How do you get an outline? That's kind of the question. But I do a whole thing of observations. So I observe a whole passage. So there's that to review, and then I help you take your observations and actually move them to creating an outline. So I would just recall your memory to that video. We also have this this document called Bible Study Observations to Outline Historical and Literary Context. Let me find that. That one is where did it go? There it is. So in this one, I actually demonstrate how to go from the text of the Bible and observations to create a rough summary statement. So the first step is to do your observations. And then step 2 is to stand back from your observations, look at the passage, try to summarize it in 2 or 3 sentences, kind of try to capture it. And then from that rough summary, you then create a main idea. You can't go from the passage right to a main idea. You have to have an kind of a mediating position, a mediating position. I talked through this with you. Perhaps this just has gotten lost in all that we have to do in this class and other classes, and that's understandable. I just want to point you again to these resources to help you do this work. And I think it would help significantly a lot of you if you would do this. You would do this right here. You would do the rough summary statement. That was terrible. Do the rough summary statement before you do the main idea. Okay. And so then you have your outline also from your observation sheet. And I explain what an outline is. I misspell references, but who's checking? And then, which I'll come to, momentarily, but then I provide for you an example of the historical context discussion. This has been a nut that has been hard to crack for most of you. And so I want to continue to give you an understanding. I don't know if it's so much me or if it's just too much detail, but this historical context section, I would say save like 2 people. Everyone didn't figure this thing out, didn't crack that nut. In a moment, I'll show you one of the videos I posted. But you have an example. I've demonstrated. I'm not only teaching you, but I've demonstrated this historical context. I've also, the wife is calling. I've also demonstrated for you the literary context, and what we need to look at in the literary context. What's going on here? And the most important thing is to position this, to situate this within the immediate context. And again, I mean, let me just say, like, all of you struggle with this, and I'm not exactly sure why. I think I thought the idea was pretty simple. And I did a video, which I'll show you again, which I posted, which is now under this module, where I showed you what the historical context is and what the literary context is. I used a box. And so, yeah, I don't really know what more I can do in terms to help you get this, but the literary context is you have your paragraph passage. you are to discuss what comes before that. You are to discuss what comes after that. You're not to discuss, concepts or ideas. A it's a um, it's a literary thing, and it's a literary study of the surrounding context. Yeah, give the bigger context. Talk about the servant songs and the way they provide a context, but then get into the immediate context of Isaiah 53. So uh, you might want to just go back to this if you're still fuzzy. Which let me just, I think there's fuzziness here. Um, so another thing I'm going, since I'm here, another thing I'm going to harp on is the author date um, citation style. And very few of you followed this exactly. So it's author, date, page number. So then somebody can come down here and you have Merrill, and then, oh, look, okay, this is the document that was referred to above. So the citation up here works together with the bibliography. You need a bibliography to use this kind of citation structure, but it's simple. That's what I like about it. Author, date, page number. And why I'm thinking about it here too, here's another thing that comes to my mind. There were a couple of students who used information from sources, but neglected to cite the sources. And I know that they used information from sources because what they wrote would be way out of their knowledge. They wouldn't have been able to know what they wrote unless they read it out of a book. And when you cite, when you write something, even if it's not a quotation, but if you borrow something from another source, you have to cite the source. If you do not cite the source, that's called plagiarism. And it's a pretty serious thing. Now, my view is, this is college. This is your kind of, for some of you, is your first, year getting on, most of you. And so, you don't really know these things. So I didn't do anything except I just, made sure they understood that, they came very close to the line, if not crossed the line of plagiarism. So please be careful of that. Please be careful of that. If you borrow something from a source, whether it is an idea or it is a actual quotation, you must cite the source. Okay, so this document could be very helpful to you. So that's that. I've made reference to it. So let me find it. Just keep moving. Okay, there we go. There is this video I made called Historical and Literary Contexts, Yay. Discussion about historical literary context and a literary context for, let's try that again. Discussion about historical cultural context and literary context for a Bible study. The one thing that is not mentioned in the video is the discussions. I'm really struggling. The discussions should matter. Your discussion of a historical, cultural concept or practice should be relevant to the passage. A large number of you did a historical, cultural discussion. A number of them were about the authorship of Isaiah. But I ask, how does your discussion of a historical, cultural matter or element, historical, cultural element, how does that help us have a better understanding of the passage? There has to be some relevancy. Otherwise, it's like, what's the point? That section is not meant to just give a random, disconnected historical observation. That doesn't help anybody. And so, is it relevant? Does it deepen our understanding? Does it expand our understanding? What does that historical cultural element do? So that's super important. So that's a resource for historical cultural context. I honestly, I feel like that video itself should correct any misunderstanding, should bring clarity. But so, you know, if you have to watch it a couple of times, do that. But I think that we need to kind of be thinking more carefully about that. So I have this example. Yeah, this is more of the same. I think I've already, yeah. I've showed this to you in another document. So now there's two documents with the same information. So you can use either one. I put the Bible dictionaries and the Isaiah stuff just at the bottom. So there's enough here to equip you. And if you needed more help, you have me that would be happy to support you in this process. Let's go back to our little sheet that. Okay, so we did the historical, cultural, literary contexts. I talked about no. No, I didn't talk about that yet. That's coming up. So I talked about author date. Let me address the you, we, me question. In this, then I have the Jesus. Jesus is here too. In a Bible study, until you get to the application, there should be no reference to our, we, certainly not me, because these pronouns, these personal pronouns, suggest that you were or you lived 3,000 years ago. That you lived 3,000 years ago. When Isaiah was written, it was about 3,000 years ago. And when you put yourself and you say our, then you're asserting somehow that this text applies to you. This text, was written to you. The text is not written to you; it's written for you. And we do not presume to put ourselves in the story. The story is a historical one. The passage is a historical one. We talk in the past tense, not in the present tense. On the last Bible study, I think I made that point over and over again. It's past tense because it's in the past. These events are in the past. So there should be no personal pronouns, and everything should be in the past tense. And we had quite a bit of this. And we had a number of personal application or application to ourselves in the main idea statement, and that just is not appropriate in the study we're doing, because what we're interested in is what did the passage mean in its historical context. When we get to the application, then we're asking ourselves, okay, how does this relate to me and my world? Got it? Okay. Now, finally, the main idea statement. And I just kind of alluded to it just a moment ago. But I put Jesus here, and I'm going to say these things both again later, but I put Jesus here because many of you put Jesus in Isaiah 53. And I understand why you would do that. I understand that that just made sense to you because you're a Christian. You know the story. You know that passage is a way of framing the death of Jesus in the New Testament. All that stuff, on and on. But what you need to discipline yourself about is to not bring that later history. Jesus doesn't come for 1,000 years after Isaiah, a millennia. So Jesus is not in that text. The servant is not Jesus in that text. You might say it's prophetic, it's prophesying, and Jesus fulfills that, fine. But that was not known at the time that was going to relate to Jesus of Nazareth. Might be related to the Messiah when he comes, but Jesus of Nazareth is not in that text. And I kind of joked with a few, I don't know if they got it, so now you'll get it, but I said, I never thought I would say this, but you need less Jesus. You need to take Jesus out. So I thought that was funny. Okay, so main idea. And this is something that we need to think about. So I have this discussion here that I sent this to you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I sent this to you on an announcement, but we need to go over it again. And I wrote this based on the main ideas from the previous Bible study, but it still applies pretty widely for this Bible study. So I don't know, again, what fell through the cracks, but I just want to carefully read this. I've read a good number of main ideas, and there is a need for improvement across the board. The area of weakness is in the understanding of what a main idea is. So I'm going to succinctly describe the main idea statement. I'm going to begin by stating what it is not. The main idea statement is not the rehearsal of the story or the speech or the text of a letter that was told or written. It is not the rehearsal of the text that you're reading. A fair number of you simply retold the passage in summary fashion. And it didn't give me any additional information. It didn't offer anything constructive. So if you start rehearsing the passage in a story, it's like this happened, and this happened, and this happened. You are not approaching the main idea appropriately. And I just can't say this strongly enough, because this is probably the biggest weakness in the main idea writing. The main idea statement as story summary was the most common weakness of the main idea statements. I just said that. The main idea statement is not the parts of the story. Again, saying the same thing just another way. It's not taking the, act 1, act 2, act 3 and just kind of giving those parts. The main idea statement doesn't look something like God spoke to Nathan and told him, and then Nathan responded and told God. God spoke to Nathan again and said, that is the rehearsal of the passage. What is the main idea? The main idea statement is what you get when you boil it all down. The main idea statement is the sum of the parts, not the parts. So don't give me the parts. Tell me what the whole amounts to. What do the parts amount to? What is the idea that the parts contribute? It's the answer to the question, what is the one thing the whole thing is saying? What's the one thing the whole thing is saying? Because the idea statement is not the rehearsal of facts, it can be written concisely. Whenever you have a idea statement that is longer than 2 sentences, and I would say even 1 sentence, if you have an idea statement that's longer than 1 sentence, you're not writing an idea statement. I'll give you 2 sentences, but if you need more than that, then you're not writing an idea statement. You're writing a rehearsal of the facts. Yeah, so the main idea statement is probably the hardest part of Bible study if you do it correctly, because it is the one that requires the most thinking. And I can tell by the idea statement who put time into this project and who didn't. It's easy. It's not the person that wrote a lot. It's the person that wrote the least. That's how I know the person thought hard about it. So the last 2 things, oh, sorry. I skipped. I already said this, but there should be no application in the idea statement. And in the Old Testament, there should be no Jesus. Is Jesus in the Old Testament? From a Christian perspective, yes. But from the Old Testament perspective, Jesus can't be in the Old Testament. Okay. Then finally, my checklist. Oh, I was already on the right document. So we did the idea statement, and we did the author date. So the last thing, as you would expect me to say, is observe, 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 observe. You cannot observe enough. You obviously have limited time, and that's totally understandable. Totally. I get it. So you do as much as you can. It's all that can be asked. But you do as much as you can. Observe, 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 observe. Okay, finally, I have an announcement to make. I'm nervous. I'm going to do something I really don't like to do. That is, go back on my word. But I think it's important in view of the Bible studies on Isaiah 52 and 53 to introduce back into the course Acts 15, Bible study 5. But I am not having you do the full Bible study. It is a abridged version of the full one. So for the 13th of November, you will submit these 4 elements of the Bible study: an observation page, a main idea, an outline, and a context section. This is the meat of the Bible study. But I think you need one more round of practice before the end of the semester and going into the last Bible study on Ephesians. I just don't think we can go into Ephesians with these issues. The one thing that I didn't note, I want you to have 3 sources at least, and I want it in author date. So author date is author, date, page number. You don't have to do page number. You just do author, date, comma, page, parentheses, and then a bibliography page, bibliographic element. I don't know what word I'm looking for. A bibliography. Okay. I will put this out another way as well, but I thought I would unveil it in this video. Okay, well, that's all I got. I will see you tomorrow. I'm having that awkward moment where I'm trying to figure out where the end button is, so I'm looking down here like this.